Okay, well, hello. Thank you for joining. Tonight I'm going to be talking about a peer-to-peer workshop on how I created the newsletter for our CCGS2 program. Yeah, so I don't have very much experience creating a newsletter. So if you were interested in creating one, it's very doable, I'll say that. You don't need much experience to get started. There's a lot of resources out there. What I used was pretty easy to understand as well and free. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. So yes. Okay, so this is how I created a newsletter, the successes and failures. So before you start creating a newsletter, there are some things that you should consider. Why are you creating a newsletter? So what information are you trying to share? Do you want to share resources? Do you want to keep people updated? Do you want to keep people connected? For us, what we decided was that this newsletter was going to feature a schedule and information about our continued learning groups, stories from CCGS participants, and the resources about composting. So we really wanted this to be community-based, focus on the community, on the people that we work with, as well as compost, since this is why we're all here. So yeah, we really wanted to make sure that the content focused on community and composting. So that was the reason that we created it. Some people might have different goals as well. Sometimes I've seen newsletters that are just for entertainment. Some are just solely images. So there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. We try to incorporate articles, resources, information updates. So another thing to consider before you even start your newsletter is who is your audience. So you may already have a contact list, people that you already interact with, or you may have no one at all and you're not really even sure who would engage with your newsletter. So another thing to consider as well is, will they even engage with your newsletter? Is it worth creating a newsletter? Maybe you should go a different route and do something on social media, or which would probably be better for a younger audience. Or maybe you should print something out and send it to people, because maybe people just don't really read their email. So there's a lot of things to consider before even starting, especially when it comes to your audience, if it's something that they would actually enjoy, or if it's just something that maybe you want to create. Another thing to consider is, who do you want in your audience? So there's the people that you already may have contact with, the people that you already know, versus who are you trying to reach with your newsletter? And do you even have that audience yet, or is that something that you need to grow before you start this? The next thing to consider is timing. So deciding how often you want to send out this newsletter. You see newsletters that are weekly, monthly, twice a year, 4 times a year, maybe once a year even. I aimed to send it out once every month, which I'll get into that actually the next slide. But yeah, definitely consider that when creating a newsletter, it takes time to research relevant articles, to create headings, to go through photos, write content, especially if this is something that you want to do on your own. It is a little different, of course, if you have a team, but even then, if you have a team, you have to consider the coordination of all of that, making sure everyone's on task. So yeah, just be aware of your capacity, especially since I think a lot of us do work outside of just being on the computer. A lot of us do like land-based work, or we're interacting with the community. So realize that while creating a newsletter is doable, it does take time if you want it to be of quality. If you want to put something out daily, you can. That would be Yeah, you could do something like that. But if you really want to like engage with your audience and you want them to have something that's actually substantial, something that they would actually enjoy, you don't just want to send out anything as quickly as possible. Because I mean, sometimes I think maybe twice a year would even be beneficial. And also consider that if you're sending something daily, people are probably going to block you, or it's going to go to spam because you're just going to fill up their email. So consider how often you want to send it out, how often makes sense for you and for the people that you work with, engage with, and yeah, who your audience is, since this is, you do have to consider your audience at every step, since that's who you're engaging with. So like I said, I aimed to send out the newsletter once a month. I wanted to do the beginning of the month because I liked the idea of having all of our events, upcoming events, learning sessions for the upcoming month, just all there. But of course, like I said, life happens. Um, and sometimes I wasn't able to put it out at the beginning of the month. Sometimes it would be the second week, sometimes it would be the third, or at the end of the month even. So that is something that I struggled with and I would like to get better at, maybe like the next time that I do this. Where I succeeded with consistency and timing was that I essentially created a template for the newsletter after the first newsletter that I put out. So that saved me a lot of time on creating instead of having to start from scratch every single time and designing everything. I had like a template of how I wanted things to be organized. I had a template of the content that I wanted to share. So then it was kind of just like a plug-in at that point. Of course, I was still open to changing things around, adding new headings, adding new content, but it was nice to just already have that baseline. So it didn't feel as overwhelming. You could just hit edit copy and edit paste, and then the whole thing is there, and you just change some stuff around. So that is something that I definitely think is helpful. What I use too, like MailChimp, I'll talk about that as well. They also have some templates available, so that can also save you time. And yeah, in the future, I definitely would just try to map out what kind of content I want to have. But again, that does also take some coordination as far as like events that are going to be available and pictures and captions. So again, that's timing, just you have to consider that when designing a newsletter. So what I ended up using for the newsletter was MailChimp. And it's a site, I can drop it in the link, that essentially allows you to put out campaigns for your email newsletter. They also have stuff for websites. I personally, I like it. I haven't really used many others. Like I said, I'm still a beginner at this, so I don't really know many of the other platforms that you could use, but I like MailChimp because it was accessible. It's probably one of the most popular. They have a free version too, so again, it's like if you want to just start this out and test it out, you don't necessarily want to pay for stuff right off the bat. So it was nice to just kind of sample it during the free version. It was pretty simple to set up an account. Yeah, and I found like adding content was pretty easy. I really liked the setup of it as far as like adding a paragraph, adding pictures. It was really, they keep it very streamlined when it comes to adding content. The cons with MailChimp, while I feel like adding content was easy, some of the other sides of MailChimp were a little confusing. I think like importing the contacts. We have about 75 contacts, and I essentially put it in manually because it wouldn't import from the Excel sheet. And so then I just tried to copy it and paste it in there, but it's really particular about how you have it. Like You can't have any spaces, you have to have a comma, you have to have like the last name and then the first name and then the email. So it was just a lot of little things like that. It was a little tedious. And it was a little confusing for me. I eventually figured it out, but that was something that I struggled with. I also felt that there were some limited design features. I would like for the newsletter to be a little more expressive, I guess, to have just some more to look at than just the colors. And I can also demo kind of what that might look like as far as you can add pictures in there, but I feel like that was also even kind of limited to what you could do with them. Like you can't really layer anything. I don't even know like shapes and stuff. It's very basic, which is fine. And I think it is good, especially as I said, timing. You could spend a lot of time trying to design. So maybe it is best that it's just streamlined, but I would have liked to do a little bit more designing. And then again, I was using the free version. So if you pay for it, you get a lot more features that would have been nice. Like there's certain templates that are already really designed and ready to go, which would have been nice as well. They also have an option to schedule a time to send out, which I also would have liked as opposed to having to do it manually. I kind of would have liked having consistency of the time that it was sent out, like every third Wednesday at 5 p.m. Just that would be kind of nice, especially if you already have it ready to go. And then there's certain analytics and data that it collects that you don't have access to in the free version. You don't get to view it. They also have some suggestions even on how you can improve engagement. And on the free version, you don't have access to all of that. So it was a little frustrating because it's blurred out and I want to know what it is, but you just, yeah, you have to pay to see it. So that's just one thing. But overall, I think MailChimp is a good platform to use if you're starting out. There's also a lot of resources like YouTube videos that you can watch to kind of help you navigate it as well, which I think I would do. They also have automation, like automatic emails that will send out. So if, let's say you have someone subscribe, it'll send an automatic email like welcome, and you can design that as well. So you can also link a lot of apps like Canva. I know because I want to do more of those design features, you could link something like Canva, which would probably import some of your designs. Also like websites, if you're more into like designing a website, I think they have some features for that as well. So I definitely think it's a good place to start. And yeah, I would recommend. Okay, so the content. As far as what you want to put in your newsletter, again, that's really up to you, considering why you wanted to create it in the first place and who your audience is. So for our newsletter, we had a couple consistent segments, like I said, in essentially creating a template. So I consistently always had an intro, which I actually, yeah, I would definitely still keep an intro kind of prefacing what this newsletter is going to be about. I also kind of like to go with the seasons as well. So after the introduction, I would usually do like a little update or like a little blurb of like information of something that's happening within our program. And then I followed that with past events / upcoming events. So in case you missed an event, this is what happened last month. And then here are the events that are happening this upcoming month. And then I consistently had like resources that were available for participants. And then in the news, which featured just like composting or anything pertaining to composting, any like news articles, information about that, policy surrounding that. And then also we wanted to feature any of our participants who maybe were featured in their local news or national news about some of the work that they're doing, since again, that was one of the reasons why we wanted to create this, was to highlight some of our community members. And then at the bottom, we would always have like follow us, like the social media handles that you can add. So those were our consistent segments. And then some of the additional content that we added and could like swap in, swap out was the community spotlight, which one of our regional coordinators actually suggested. And I really liked that idea, was being able to highlight, who's the work that people are doing, since everyone's doing such amazing stuff. And it would be nice to share that, which was also kind of a thing too, why we wanted to create this newsletter, because we're all from different regions. We felt that it would be nice to kind of have something for all of us to connect over, since people from up in the Bay Area or up in Northern California can connect with people down south in San Diego or in the Central Valley. So that I really like the community spotlight, so we can all kind of see like what everyone's doing, since we are all in the same sector. Another thing that we added was regional scoreboards, just to kind of see where our metrics were. Maybe create a little friendly competition amongst the regions, or just to motivate yourself to kind of see like, this is where I am and this is where we want to be. So kind of, get people, light a fire under them and really start to compost more. So yeah, the regional scoreboards was also another addition that we had. And then also a survey. I put out a survey, I think, in the first newsletter and the second, just asking people what they would have liked to name our newsletter, if they had any suggestions. And yeah, so there you can always add stuff, move it, change it. Yes, so where I struggled with content was finding stories about community composting. Again, like I said, it takes a lot of time to research and read through to articles and find stuff that is relevant. We also wanted to keep it to California, since we are California Alliance for Community Composting. So, finding stories that are relevant and new is something to, I would have liked to add more pictures. That's also something that I felt like I lacked. I guess I was thinking in terms of keeping it brief, and so I wanted to add information, but then I felt, I guess people always love looking at pictures, so I should have just added more pictures. I would have liked to do that. So that was just one of my failures in this round of creating a newsletter. But as I progress, I think like highlighting pictures is definitely something I'd like to do more. Another comment just like about MailChimp was, I wish there was a feature to make like a photo album or like a slide deck so people can click through pictures, as opposed to just having them stacked. I feel like that would also kind of it would just make it look better, as opposed to having a lot of pictures just in a chunk, to have either like an album or like a photo deck. But yes, that's pictures. And then also even like the interaction with the newsletter, I feel like overall we had a pretty good click rate. Through MailChimp, you can see like how many people open up the newsletter, which the numbers have always been pretty good. So I'm happy about that. But sometimes the engagement, as far as the survey that I put out asking people to help us name our newsletter, we only got like 3 responses maybe, and I sent that out 2 different times. So I think I got 2 responses the first time and 1 the second. And yeah, it just didn't really, when we have contacts of 75 people and only 2 people respond, that kind of shows the skew of how your interaction is. So that was a little something that we struggled with. And maybe I could, I'm not really sure how I could maybe get more people engaged with that. Maybe like have it front and center and a giant button, like fill out this survey, please. So that is, I don't know, any suggestions there? And then as far as where I feel like I succeeded was, again, the consistency of the content, having a baseline of those previous segments of like the intro and the previous events and upcoming events and resources, like that's just always there, so that, you know, when you open up this newsletter, you're always going to be able to find that information, which I feel like just makes it easier for the reader. You kind of have an idea of what's there. And then of course, always just makes it easier for me to know, like, at the very least, as long as I have these. So yeah, that's just my experience so far crafting a newsletter. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions on maybe how I can improve in the future, or if you are starting your newsletter yourself, feel free to join in.
Natalie, I have a question. You said you had 75 people in your contact list.
Yes.
What percentage of those people would you have been happy or can you expect that will respond to you?
Yeah, so like I was saying, MailChimp lets you see the click rate over like how many people open it. Actually, I'll just share my screen right now so you can kind of see. Okay. So yeah, you can see the click rate right here. So about like 73% of our people opened it, which I mean, that's really good, I think, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, we sent out a constant contact to about 500 people, and about maybe 40% will actually engage, but I don't think that's good, but according to them, it is a good number if 40% respond. So
yeah, I mean, I think even like 50% is probably good. And I feel like with a number like 500, that's quite a bit. And you know how I was talking to you before that sometimes the emails bounce.
Right.
So sometimes with MailChimp, I feel like a lot of the times the email will go to spam. So that is also something to consider, is like, yeah, with MailChimp, it might go to spam and then you're not even reaching those people. So then they're really not going to open it. But yeah, we had a pretty good click rate, and yeah, MailChimp also lets you see, here, I'll open up a report.
What is your plan to expand your people that are getting this newsletter? Is there some kind of survey or link that if I got it, I could send it to somebody else who wanted to see it? Is that part of MailChimp?
For MailChimp, yes, I believe you can share it. I haven't really looked into that because for this newsletter, we were really just focusing on the CCGS2 like participants. Right. So we weren't really encouraging people to share it because this information was specifically for them.
Oh.
But I'm sure they do have options that you can do that. Actually, is it here? I think they have something where you can share it like on socials, like on your social media. So yeah, they do have options for that for sure. And I was gonna say too, as far as like engagement, so this is one of the older, this is the volume 2. So this was sent to, okay, so like 51 people opened it and we had 70, okay, so 69 successful deliveries. So again, a couple of those emails bounced, which is right here, the bounce rate. So one that went to spam.
I didn't get the letter, so maybe I was one of the bouncers.
Yeah, you might have been the bounce. But yeah, 51 people opened it, which is pretty great considering we sent it to 74. Or, I mean, I guess actually even less, 69 people. So, and then it also shows you some of the links that I included in this newsletter, how many people opened them too, which is also really informative. And I really like that feature about MailChimp because, yeah, you know, it's like you're adding links, but are people even really looking at them? Like the articles that you put in, are people reading them? So I don't remember what this Google Doc form was. I think it was probably our resource list. So that's pretty good. I mean, like 11 people opened it. That makes me happy.
And so 3 people respond to the survey that you put out? Did you see that?
Yeah, maybe even less. Let me see if I can go back. Yeah, so you can see our newsletter. Oh, it looks like someone probably responded later.
Okay.
And then I sent it out again and one person responded. So yeah, that was the survey. And again, compared to the amount of people who opened it, and then the amount of people who clicked on some of those other links, to only have like one response, or 4 out of the 70 people that it was sent to, that's pretty skewed. And yeah, I'm not really sure how to get that interaction up as far as the survey. Maybe it was just something people weren't interested in. But yeah, that was definitely where I felt like I struggled. And then yeah, MailChimp, let me see, I'll open up the newsletter so you can kind of see. So when you're creating a campaign, this is just the home. I just sent one out, so this isn't getting all kinds of information on it now. So creating a campaign, you just go here to create. You can pick a regular email. This I think is for, if you like go onto your website and something will pop up like sign up now for 20% off your next order, or they don't do 20% off, 10% off. That's like what a landing page is. And then the automation, like I was saying, if someone signs up, they'll just get an automatic email like, thank you for signing up, and maybe just like some information about your organization or whatever you want to share, really marketing. So I've just been using regular email. That's what I was doing. Design. And so this will pop up how you want to design it. So I started out just from scratch because the fully designed template, this is what I was saying, like one of those features that is behind like the paywall, of course, but you can kind of see they're really colorful. They have a lot of stuff already, but you have to pay to use any of these. So it is nice, but that's just something to consider. The basic layout, actually, even all of these, some of them you have to pay for, like these at the bottom that are a little more built out. But they have a few free ones as well. But it's very simple. It's pretty basic, actually. So I'm just like, I could create that. And so that's why I just go from scratch. It's just a fully blank canvas. Yeah, so that's just how it starts you out with. I will go to one of the templates though, I think, just so it's a little easier to see. The design, or actually, I can edit in here. So yeah, even if you build it from scratch, they still have some layouts that you can do, which I think are cool. So these are some pre-built ones with like image and text that you just slide over. So again, it's really easy to use and really easy to understand. So the content that you can add is like a heading, paragraph, button. This is what I used for like the survey. A divider is just if you want to divide your space. Oh, that's a little weird. If you want to divide your space, you just add, it's basically a line. You can do a little more with it too. You can make it like dashed or add colors and stuff. A spacer is also just to create space between your content. You can add images, logo. If you want to add your logo, you have to upload it, of course. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's like wherever you want your logo, you just drag and drop, and now your logo is there. You can also create a theme, I think, with your logo and whatever your pictures are. So that's nice. That's where Creative Assistant comes in. It's kind of like an AI, I guess, where it'll take your logo and your organization's colors and create like a little template for you. Let me see if, yeah, so you can like pick whatever pictures you want. The heading, the subheading, you can include, and then, yeah, it'll generate a design for you. So yeah, it's just an AI. It's taking a bit to load. Yeah, so you can add that. And yeah, there you go, just like that. So that's the creative assistant. Yeah, you can put videos, of course. The socials, like I was saying before too, I always included our social media handles at the bottom. So you can switch them out. Pretty simple as well. Oh, and this is where if you click on the logo, it'll either link you to your channel, or if people, it'll link people to share it themselves. So this is like how you would share it through here on your socials, and they have a bunch of different ones. Oh, your website, email, YouTube. So that's the socials. Pretty easy. The survey, again, yeah, that's also something that you can put in. Code, I don't know how to code. So I'm not really sure how that would fit in or how you would use it. But for those who do know how to do that, that option is there. Apps as well, if there's like any other apps, I guess, outside of the socials. So this is what we have so far. Okay, like Yelp. I'm not really sure what link preview is. And you can always add apps too. That is another option. You have to sync them to MailChimp. So yeah, that's just like another option for whatever other kind of apps or other content that you want to feature into MailChimp. So this is all we have. I haven't used this before. So yeah, not my thing. And then products too. If you were selling stuff, you can have your products there or product recommendations, but that's more for like business side of it. But yeah, and then the layouts, I think these are pretty cool. I like, throw this one in here. So it's 3, and you can add 3 different things. So if you want to do like, newsletter, you want to do that there. And then you want to add an image in the middle. Let's see, do I have any? I'm gonna see like this one I do. You could put an image there, and then you could put like, I don't know what else I would put there. Maybe like another image on this side. Or if you don't want that, you can remove it and always add another paragraph. So yeah, it's really easy to use. Like I said, it's pretty simple. The design aspects are, it's a little basic, but like I said, I think that might work for some people, especially if you're just starting out or you don't want to over design it. And you can always link it to things like Canva, I know, is another thing that you can link with your newsletter. So if you do want to design a little bit more, you can do that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If there's anything else that you want to see on MailChimp or any other questions you had. Oh, and then also another thing too is you can preview it, which is nice. So you can see what it's going to look like on the desktop and also what it'll look like on a phone, which, yeah, on the phone is also something to consider, like your audience. If you put maybe like too much content, then people are going to be scrolling for a really long time and they're probably not going to look at it all if they're looking on their phone. But yeah, versus a desktop, it's like, oh, that's not very much. So just something to consider. I don't know if it tells you maybe like how people view it, if that's some data that MailChimp collects. That would be kind of cool to know. So you can maybe tailor it some more. You can also send a test email. So if you want to see what that looks like, you can send it to up to, I want to say like 10 people at a time. Send it test. You can add like a little, like, what do you guys think? So it's like you get to see a preview of it in real time without actually sending it out to everyone. So that is also a feature that I like. I like the test. I use that a lot. It's a good way to test links. And yeah, just to see if you do like the format, because sometimes I feel like the format does look a little different in like the actual test than it does even in the preview. It's happened to me a couple times. So I think that's a pretty cool feature.
So how many people can you send it out at one time?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think in the free version it's like 100.
Okay.
And then yeah, as you upgrade, you can do more. I would show you how to add people, but I don't want people's information out there to be featured. But it's yeah, like I said, I struggled with it a little bit. You can import it from another document. So yeah, you just have to make sure that it's the right document and like the right format. And yeah, so if you have like 500 people, yeah, maybe just like watch a how-to video or something.
Mhm.
um,
You said you had a little struggle with photos. If you have a lot of photos that you wanted to, they don't have a gallery, right? What?
yeah, yeah. So again, like how I was showing the preview, where it's like if someone is viewing it in their phone and I have a lot of pictures, it's
Mm,
gonna just stack them as
uh,
opposed to on the desktop. It's like they might be laid out nice horizontally. Um, but on the phone, it's just going to be like you're scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. And so that's why I was saying it would be nice if they had maybe like an album that you could click on, which maybe
mhm.
they do. Maybe that's just something that I need to explore a little bit more.
Maybe it's an app that you can add. Yeah. That's
Yeah, or something that you can scroll. And maybe that's a like a feature or like another app that I could use maybe to add that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot that you can do. I also don't know.
it's worth 1,000 words, remember?
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, there's still a lot to explore on MailChimp. Um, and then I'm sure even with the paid version too, that's even more that you can do. But yeah, I think it was a good place to start for sure.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's I pretty much didn't use any of the other features. I just stayed here in my campaigns. Um, and yeah, here's like the website. Oh, I did also, like to see some of the reports, which I thought was interesting. And yeah, it also just kind of informs me on like how people are liking the newsletter, how they're engaging with it. Um, yeah, this isn't our information. This is just a sample. So I'm like, I know people haven't unsubscribed. Um, but yeah, I definitely I appreciate that. So yep, clicks, engagement, been pretty good. So yeah, that's my experience with the newsletter and using MailChimp. And yeah, it was definitely a bit of a learning curve at the beginning with MailChimp, just kind of familiarizing myself with it. But I feel pretty okay with it now, okay enough to share with other people. And I can send out an email. Another thing actually that I did just learn too is that you could essentially create a newsletter in your Google email.
Mhm.
So they have something called select a layout, and they have
What's it called?
let's select a layout. So let me I can share my screen really quick again.
Hair is pretty.
Thank you. So yeah, if you like open up a new message in your Gmail, right here at the bottom, it has select a layout. And yeah, they literally have something for a newsletter. I just found this out like 2 days ago. They have a couple different layouts: announcement newsletter, new service referral. Yeah, so you can just edit right there. So that would have also saved me some time. And I think it's essentially, it's very similar to MailChimp as far as like adding kind of like a drag and drop. They also have button, image. I guess they don't have like videos. It's actually maybe a little more basic than MailChimp, but this would also be a good place to start if you don't want to sign up for MailChimp, if you just want to get something out there. This could be a really easy, accessible way. And I feel like they have, you can create your own theme, content blocks. So yeah, this also might be a really good option if you just want to start out and you don't want to have to try and learn MailChimp.
Well, I have to learn both.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, you can reach out or.
I already know I'm gonna probably use it. My church, we just got a nonprofit, and we have people that don't like to do social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this would be a good way to send them an email with this, and they'll open this up. But they don't want to do IG. They don't want to do Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, is that not everyone engages with social media. There are a lot of people who aren't on social media, or shoot, even like if you are on social media, you miss a post. You're not going to be checking the way that their algorithms are now. It's like you don't even really see the people that you follow anymore. So yeah, newsletters are a good way to get directly to your audience. And yeah, and I mean, like I said, you can see who opens it, which is cool. You can see like how many people are opening it, and see like if it is working, and then if not, then maybe you should find a different route. Like I said, maybe send out a little paper, like an actual newsletter.
Well, it's worth a try for sure. So
Definitely.
I definitely try it. I have something for it. So
Yeah.
I appreciate your time, taking time out to
Yeah.
to this.
Definitely. I appreciate you for coming out. So yeah, if you don't have any other questions, then I'll end the recording.